Hey, party people! Welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the RPG podcast built for two. I am your host, as always, Jeff Stormer. This week, Quinn Wilson, host of the Swallows of the South podcast, joins me for a playtest of Evil Hat's new Fate Core module, Shadow of the Century. Shadow of the Century is the sequel to their smash hit RPG Spirit of the Century, which takes the two-fisted pulp action of the 1930s and updates it to the sleek, dangerous world of 1980s action TV and movies, where the villains are cold and monolithic, and the heroes are damaged and rebellious. It is awesome, and I cannot wait for the game to come out so you can enjoy it. A link to learn more can be found in the show notes. Swallows of the South, a podcast on the RPG Academy Network, is an amazing actual play set in the world of Exalted 3rd Edition. At times deeply funny and insanely intense. I cannot recommend it enough. You should check it out. A link to the show can also be found in the show notes. Two quick notes. One, the audio on my end in this episode is a little wonky. There were some background noise issues I was dealing with that I wasn't fully aware of until I was editing, and removing them made things sound not quite as good as it usually does. I apologize for that. Two, because this is a playtest, I left in a few things that I would normally cut out. There's some rules discussion and some post-game playtest chat. I felt like it was important to hear the areas where we bumped up against the rules a little bit. Because this is a playtest, I thought that was valuable information to have. Just as a heads up. With all that said, let's throw it over to me in the past so he can get on with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. This week I am joined by Quinn Wilson of Swallows of the South. Quinn, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing so well, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing really well. So right off the top of the bat, let's talk about Swallows of the South.
Alright, so Swallows of the South is an actual play podcast that I game master, where me and three of my wonderful trained performers... I'm sorry, that was awkward. Three of my wonderful friends, who also happen to be trained performers, play the Exalted 3rd Edition role-playing game. Exalted has been a game that has meant a lot to me throughout the years. I've been attached to it for a long, long time, and 3rd Edition has just come out and really refines a lot about the game that I love, and I've got a bunch of talented people that I have locally, so I figured why not use this as a venue to share my love.
That makes perfect sense. I've been really enjoying Swallows of the South. I've been listening to it. I'm about at episode, I think I'm on 3 now. I've been really enjoying it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so this week we are playing a game that I am very, very excited about. We're playing the playtest of Shadow of the Century, Evil Hat's sequel to their smash hit game Spirit of the Century, which it moves the game from the 1920s and 30s, which is where Spirit of the Century took place, into the world of the 1980s, and I am, suffice to say, I'm madly in love with this game. This game's doing it for me.
It is beautifully evocative.
It really is, and it's like a style that I really gravitate towards anyway. So it's something that I remember they announced it. It was one of their Kickstarter stretch goals for the original Fate Core. Was like, hey, we're doing this game, and I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so now that it's almost out, I'm the happiest I can be.
It's really, really good.
So let's stop talking about it and start playing it. What do you say?
Oh, absolutely. I'm so game.
So let's meet your character this week.
All right, so I'm going to be playing Augustine Chu, who is a heavily conflicted individual. He comes from a background of crime, specifically in the setting as presented in Shadow of the Century. There's this kind of loose conglomerate of various crime families and organizations known as the Gentleman's Agreement, and he was embroiled with some of those one of those criminal organizations, and he recently left when he realized that he wasn't maybe as committed to doing those bad things as he had once thought that he was.
That makes sense. That makes sense. He discovered he had a heart or a conscience, a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, this is probably a good time to introduce a little bit of the background of Shadow of the Century, just in general, is Spirit of the Century was a game about spectacular individuals called the Centurions, who were born at January 1st, 1900. They represented a sort of core idea of the century. Their life was bigger than average. And for the first maybe 40, 45 years of the century, they were sort of the go-to do-gooders. They were the heroes. They were the people that we looked to for inspiration. Then World War II happened, and things kind of changed. The people stopped looking at them as the same kind of heroes, and they sort of fell by the wayside. McCarthyism happened, the Cold War happened, and just the world stopped needing those same heroes. Which led to their enemies, the Shadows, taking over. The game book describes them as winning to the point where they're no longer even the villains, they're the status quo. So we find ourselves in the mid-80s, where a new kind of hero, the damaged new wave hero, has to sort of step up and take their place, and sort of try to break the status quo away from these overwhelming villains, one of whom is the Gentleman's Agreement, which is crime families from around the world have sort of banded together. They've moved away from the formal, supervillain groups of the early parts of the century, like the World Crime League, and have sort of just enacted a series of loose rules that they sort of work together in a capacity, and they just make sure that they're not messing with each other, that they're messing with those that would prefer there not be crime. So, with that background out of the way, I think we're ready to dive into the game. The first thing I want to ask you about Augustine Chu is, now that preferred pronouns for Augustine, is it he?
Yes.
Now that he's out of the business, he's out of the game, so to speak. What's he doing? Is he still taking on odd jobs? Does he have a 9 to 5? What's his life look like now that he's not a criminal?
So he definitely is not committing to that 9 to 5 thing. He is taking on odd jobs and is focused as much as he can within those jobs, and then those hours when he's not working, on trying to dismantle or kind of break down the infrastructure that, in his time with the crime families, he helped to build.
Okay, that makes sense. So we join Augustine at the end of one of these late night missions of his. We join him, my second question is, what exactly do you see Augustine's specialty as? What was he the best at as a criminal, and how is he sort of applying that to taking down the empires that he helped establish?
Augustine's bailiwick is kind of in that place where, if you imagine if James Bond was more of a criminal than a spy, he's competent in some of the more martial aspects of crime, but he really excels at the sort of investigatory and social aspects. He prefers to build bridges and alliances as opposed to bringing things into more physical conflict. So he definitely facilitated a lot of agreements and that sort of thing, as opposed to being more of a hitman type character.
Sure, that makes sense. So, we open on a series of shots of the city of Shorevale, where our story takes place. We zoom in on an office building. There is a man in a finely tailored suit. He's flipping through a file. How this man is, we will call him Johnny Nine Fingers, which is ironic because he has 11 fingers.
Ah, one of those nicknames.
Yes. My next question for you is, you worked with Johnny Nine Fingers. You helped him, you pulled a job with him, and now he's sort of in a higher up position within the local crime, the local gang that has sort of taken hold. We sort of get a montage of news reports talking about this gang. The minions of the Spider. The Spider's organization, he has sort of moved up in these ranks. And now he's sort of in the middle of it. So let me ask you, what do you think that you did with Johnny Nine Fingers? And that'll help flesh out exactly who he is and what he does as you shake him down in the in this first scene?
So I'm definitely imagining Johnny Ninefingers as being this real kind of creepy, two-faced lawyer-type character.
All right.
Who is definitely kind of assisting in a lot of book cooking and spurious litigations that are keeping the minions on the street. And so I definitely think that the major role that Augustine played in these previous engagements was helping him collect a lot of dirt on the prosecuting attorneys in a lot of these cases and helping his status by tearing down these other individuals.
Oh, that's perfect. So I imagine that you're probably here to essentially take back those files, the stuff that you've given him to sort of free those prosecutors from that sort of blackmail grip that this organization has had on them. Does that make sense?
That sounds perfect.
Okay, so we open on like some wide shots of the city. We get some news reports about the Spiders organization and how they have sort of moved in, and they are relying, no one can really place them, and no one can place their minions, and the big thing is no one knows the identity of the Spider. They could be anyone. They operate using superstition and fear and shadow tactics. So we get a lot of these news reports, and we cut to Johnny Ninefingers. He's on the phone, and we get a shot of that sixth finger on one of his hands, and he's like, "Yeah, this is great. He's telling a story about how a prosecutor's taken someone in, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll put the heat on him. Don't worry. We've got the stuff, and I can always just say that the Spider's going to be in town in a few days, and that usually works to shake him up. They'll drop the case in no time." And he hangs up the phone, and you're directly in front of him.
I think that it's time that Rebecca Cornwall was freed from her obligations to the Spider, if you understand what I'm talking about. I'm afraid that this time Brian is going to be put away.
Augustine, it's good to see you. How are you? I thought that you had probably left town, given the things that had happened. Not that I'd heard anything. Not that I've heard stories. That's not.
I put my palm down on the desk and lean forward. I've got a bad habit of sticking around where people expect me to leave. And I'm putting that habit to good use now. I'm unsticking some of the other dirt that I've been stuck down here with. Dirt like you.
I have to say that I resent the use of the word dirt. I prefer alternative business person. But, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Maybe we could, I don't know, make a deal, perhaps? So I think I'm going to now ask you for your first roll.
Absolutely.
So I think, as to sort of, really have the conflict between you and Ninefingers, I'm going to ask you for a roll. It'll probably be Provoke, unless you have another skill that you think would work better.
Yeah, I've got pretty good Provoke and Persuade, but it definitely feels right here like I'm putting pressure on him more than I am offering him a good alternative, so I'll take Provoke.
Okay.
Alrighty. And that is a net 1.
Okay. I think I'm actually going to compel this guy. Particularly because, well, I'm going to say that as I explain why I'm compelling this guy. So you put the pressure on him a little bit. And you can kind of feel in the back of your neck that it's probably not that comment that he made about hearing things. Like, there are definitely some rumors about you at this point, and your recent developments that we'll get into, that It feels fresh. The wound feels fresh, so you're probably not as stable as you're letting on, right?
Oh, absolutely. Augustine is a man on the edge.
So I think that, like, you're feeling that shake, but he kind of crumbles a little bit faster than he should, and he's like, and he lets something slip. So I'm going to take this fate point for use later.
Ooh.
He leans in, he's like, please, you can't do this, not now, not when the meeting is so close. Did I say that out loud? I shouldn't have said that out loud. Am I still saying this out loud?
You're always saying this out loud, Johnny.
Oh, I really gotta work on that. Oh, Johnny, Johnny, you gotta work on your internal monologue. It's so hard, and, you know, I just want people to like me. I'm doing it again, I'm sorry. That was on me.
I place my hand down on the file and begin to pull it away from him. No, Johnny, never change a thing. And I yank it.
Okay, but let me make you a deal. What I need from you is you need to tell people that you beat me up. In exchange, I realize you've got a lot of the leverage here. In exchange, I can offer you something.
And what is it that you have to offer me?
How about a hot tip? You're talking about unsticking the things that got you stuck around town. How about a tip on the stickiest web of all?
I think that I might be amenable to that. Talk.
Okay. So, you didn't hear this from me, or if you did, you beat it out of me. That's the deal. This is a deal. This is a binding contract. I'm a lawyer. Yeah, he'll believe that. You're a lawyer. Don't forget you're a lawyer.
Cross my heart and hope to die.
There's a meeting coming up in a few days. Not just of the Spiders organization, not just of the family. Everyone's going to be there.
Everyone?
The entire coast. Every crime outfit on the entire coast is going to be there. But that's not, what am I trying to say here? That's not the piece de resistance. The Spider's going to be there. The Spider.
The Spider.
And you know that, yeah, the Spider is the head of the entire organization. No one knows who the Spider is. They could be anyone. But to hear that the actual real Spider is going to be somewhere.
Yeah, Johnny, you are an absolute treat. Just a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Do you mean that, or are you just saying that? I think you're probably just saying that. Oh, man.
I crack my knuckles and say, I appreciate the information, but if I'm going to go around telling people that this information was pressed out of you, and people look to you and, you're not looking the part, no one's going to be very happy. You promise to sit still for a minute?
Johnny, you gotta stop. You gotta stop telling people that they need to tell people that they beat you up. This is Augustine. This is the 5th time this has happened this month. Yeah, I'll sit still, and then I think that we just sideswipe over as you crack your knuckles.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just sideswipe over, and he's like, his head's in his hand. Sideswipe. So you know that there's a big meeting of the gentleman's agreement coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know that if the Spider's going to be there in person, this is beyond just a normal, like, carving up of districts type meeting. There's something going down that if you can figure out how to stop it, like, that's a big win. Oh,
okay.
Flashback though, there is one other thing that Johnny Ninefinger says to you, like, so we says you're dry. Well, we cut to Augustine later on, but he gets a quick flashback because he's a little bit shaken. Because as you're punching Johnny Ninefingers, he lets out, I should mention, she's gonna be there.
She?
This is the issues I was alluding to earlier that I was really excited to dig into as well.
Mm-hmm.
What is the name of and the full nature of relationship of your ex-partner?
So,
Was she your ex-wife, an ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, husband, whatever?
Yeah, I've actually been toying around with that, and as tempted as I am to make it an ex-boyfriend or ex-husband, I also like the idea of having a woman in this considerable position of power.
I was feeling the same way, yeah.
I'm going to say that her name is Florence, and she is essentially the ringleader of most of the crime that's moving on and going on in Shorevale right now. She's maybe not who people look to or read about in the newspapers when big crime stuff goes down, but that's because she's good at keeping behind these people who make easier marks than she is.
That makes sense. She's the face behind the face.
Oh, and specific relationship. I would say ex-wife, but that implies that divorce papers have been filed.
Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot.
And hasn't quite been enough time for that, and they're both pretty broken up about this. They like each other, even if they're set on these different sides of this divide at the moment.
That makes sense. So separated. So you're separated.
Yes. Taking
Okay,
a break in the most serious ways.
So you're punching him, and he's like, she's gonna be there, and he's like, she, and he's like, Florence, the spider has requested her there, I don't know, she's, I guess, a big part of this. It's not, please, I feel like I'm pretty beat up already.
You know what? That's good to hear, but for that last little tidbit of information, that crooked smile of yours has always really bugged me, Johnny. Just give me 1 second to try to set that straight. And we smash back to me behind the wheel of the car.
Yeah. So, you don't know where, and you don't know where, you have an idea of when in a few days. You don't know where, and you don't know, like, how to get in, especially since you're on the outs with the ringleader of crime in Shorevale. So this is going to be when you're going to be chasing down some leads. So I'm going to lay out a few aspects for this scene, just so we have them, and because I feel like it's nice to have them out and about.
They make for good hooks.
Yeah, so the first one is just like an environmental aspect. It's just that this takes place in downtown Shorevale. Shorevale is an all-American city. So we've got downtown Shorevale, and you're kind of investigating leads. Among the other aspect that I'm going to lay out is former friends and bitter enemies. So those are the two aspects that I'm going to add to the scene.
It's former friends and what?
Bitter enemies.
Excellent.
So let me ask you, how is Augustine chasing down the leads as to where this is happening, what they're meeting about, the who, what, where, when, and why of all this?
So Augustine is going to pull up to one of these awful dive bars in downtown Shorevale, because I'm imagining that this is, given the time, a sort of pre- or mid-gentrification sort of downtown area. So there's a lot of real greasy dive bars. And at the back of one of these dive bars is sort of an illegal gambling ring that tends to get run. And so he is basically going to come and talk to the... Goodness, there's a word for this. I don't know all that much about gambling. But the person running the room?
Yeah, I think it's just... We'll just say the host. I mean, we know what we're...
Right, there's a word for it, but it escapes us both at the moment. Yeah.
So, one of the mechanics that I really like in the game that we kind of put off for the show so that we can kind of demonstrate how it works. And we did it a little bit with Johnny Ninefingers, but I wanted to dig in a little bit further. Is laying out the cast of our film that we're making.
Okay.
So the way this is going to work is we're going to write down. We've got this character, the host of this gambling den, or ringleader. I think ringleader is probably the closest word, but. So we're going to lay out who they are and a few ticks about them, a few shticks almost. Pieces of background, that kind of thing. I'm thinking we'll do 4, that way we can do 2 each, so one of us can give the name and a thing, and then we'll just go back and forth twice. Does that work for you?
Sounds great.
Cool. So I will go first and say, his name is Huck Spindley.
I like it. Huck Spindley.
His thing is, he is... And I realized that I immediately thought of this shtick because there's a very specific episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia about this, but I think that he's a short, squat little man, much like, but distinct from Danny DeVito.
I like it.
Danny DeVito-esque man.
That gives me a lot of hooks to pull on.
So what do you think? A thing about his background, a thing that he does, a detail about him?
So I like the idea that this is the only thing that he has left. Like, he's essentially abandoned everything in his personal life for this operation, and maybe it's still not essentially flourishing.
I like that a lot. Okay. And, I actually feel like that's perfect. I think 2 is a good number, actually.
I agree.
So yeah, so he's watching this game go down, and he's kind of like, the money has started to like really pile up at the middle of the table, and he's kind of like getting excited about it, and then he sees that you're behind him, and he's like, hey, it's listen, I haven't spoken to Florence. I haven't heard anything about you two. I shouldn't have mentioned Florence. I'm sorry. I've been working for 16 hours now. So, I just need you to know that.
I understand what it's like to pull a long shift, Huck. Egg salad sandwich? And I pull out from a bag, I hand it over to him.
Yeah, you know my favorites. You know what I like. And he starts real grossly eating that sandwich.
Oh yeah, there's bits piling up around the corners of his mouth.
So many bits of egg, it's awful.
So, you don't know anything about Florence, you don't know anything about me.
Nope,
but
not a thing.
I've heard that you've been trying to push for an expansion lately. You're looking to move a little bit beyond this whole gambling deal, looking to move some more illicit products. Is that correct?
If something falls off a truck, did you want some sandwich?
I'm fine. I've had quite enough to eat today.
If something falls off a truck, I like to pick up on it. I like to, see if I can find it a good home.
Yes, and I've heard that you've been talking to someone who's got a lot of connections to trucks with loose axles and people with full pockets. Is that a correct understanding of what you've been up to since we last spoke?
Wouldn't have any idea what you're talking about. And he starts to, gesture. He starts to rub his fingers together. So I'm now going to ask you for a, persuade roll.
Alright. I was wondering if you were going to go for resources there for a second.
Either one, if you feel like you'd rather try to buy it off. I just figured.
No, I think persuade's good. I deliberately built him so that he didn't have any resources because I struggled with it for a minute, but I decided I liked the idea of him being disconnected from infrastructure.
Yeah, and I feel like that's also just a really great, 80s motif, is just the protagonist that is also just shy of living in squalor.
Absolutely. Alright, but here's persuade.
Alright.
So, 3 minus 1 is 2.
Okay. So he's got a 3. So if you want to spend if you want to spend a fate point, which I believe you have 3 of them at the moment. Double check exactly how many you begin play with.
Yeah, I definitely have a refresh of 3.
Yeah, so you start the scene with 3.
So I think that I'm going to lean in, kind of put my hand on his shoulder. Huck, you know that not a lot of people like you, right? I like you, Huck. I think that there's something about you that's admirable. You're a man with dedication.
I like you too.
So I like you. You like me. How about we just make this easier on all of us so that I don't have to add you to a growing list of people that I like that I'm on the wrong side of. So that's me. Goodness, the system. I'm invoking my conflicted ex-saboteur concept or aspect.
Yeah, I think that's a great invocation. So I think you succeed at the roll. He's like, yeah, no, we're friends. We're friends. You're right. You're right. I don't want to bring business between us. You're a good guy. Anytime you want to come here, you want to throw down a few hands of poker, you let me know. I'll hook you up with a few chips. And he leans in. The chips are basically worthless.
I know that. I'll always bring you a sandwich anyway.
That's, what I like. It's this guy right here. He knows what I like.
Busy man, no time to eat.
We spin. He's pointing at you, and the camera spins around his back, and the two of you are at a table. And there's a few empty glasses, a few shot containers. And now is when I ask if you're drinking anything, because he's been drinking all of these shots.
So I think that definitely given the way that Augustine approaches issues, he likes to ingratiate himself as much as possible. So he's definitely got maybe 1 or 2 beer bottles that are sitting on the counter or sitting on this table, but he's not pushing himself to a place of super drunkenness, but he's definitely participating.
You let me know. What do you want now?
Look, I just need to know who is pushing this product. I need, you're a man down here on the street. And I know what it's like to be down here on the street. I spent most of my life on the street, Huck, but I'm looking to go one level higher. I just need a boost. Just give me that boost, Huck.
Now, let me ask you something. I want you gotta be real with me. 'Cause I'm Huck. It's your old buddy.
Huck, I'm gonna be real with you, Huck.
When you're talking about a boost, are you talking about selling? Or are you talking about taking it to the next level? You talking about taking it to the next level, or are you talking about taking it to the next level?
Huck. How long have we known each other, Huck? I'm always going for the next level.
Oh, the next level. Okay. Well, here's what I got. Here's what I can tell you. In 2 days, Morrissey Plaza. That's, the one, the big hall one, it's all glass, it's so nice. It's so nice. I took a tour there. I'm sorry, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, Morrissey Plaza, 2 days. Have you heard about this meeting that's going down?
I maybe heard a thing or two here or there, people whisper, but it's hard to get details.
Florence is gonna be there, though, right? I'm just letting you know.
I know Florence is gonna be there. That's the only thing anyone seems to tell me anymore is Florence is gonna be there, like I don't know what's going on. Sorry, bud. I'm getting a little emotional.
I'm sorry. I love you, man. I love you. I love this man.
I love my little spindly man.
All right, 2 days, Morrissey Plaza. There's going to be a meeting.
Morrissey Plaza.
I don't know what about, but they said bring money. They said bring small bills, but a lot of them. Sounds to me like some kind of an auction, right? That's what it sounds like, right?
Could be an auction.
So I'm thinking, if you can get some kind of credentials, or maybe, I don't know, talk to somebody, see if there's somebody that you can get in with.
Oh my god.
Or find a way to sneak in.
Oh my
Or just,
god.
like, blend in? What is it?
No, Zach Dempsey, man. Zach Dempsey, he's always got credentials. He's the best forger around, And he still owes me one.
He owes me 2 sandwiches.
Two sandwiches, man?
2 sandwiches. So you talk to Zach Dempsey. You tell him Huck wants 2 sandwiches.
I'll get you those. I will get you those sandwiches, my man.
Alright. So I think that, like, we wavy, like, the screen goes wavy, and it's the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And you are just rolling out of bed.
Yeah, definitely palm to forehead, and I take out my little black book, because Lord knows I don't have a cell phone.
Right.
And I flip it open to the page that has Zach Dempsey's information on it.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I'm looking to go grab
Alright.
some credentials here.
Alright, well, first, I'm gonna ask you for a roll, and then we're gonna flesh out this character.
Awesome.
Sound good? I'm gonna ask you for a contacts roll to see exactly where you stand with Zach Dempsey and what he can give you, and if it's gonna cost something.
Awesome.
And you can feel free to invoke any aspects for that, especially if you wanted to invoke former friends and bitter enemies. That would be a good one if you need an invoke, because you said you've already established that he owes you one.
Yeah, so don't want to blow all my fate points just yet, but at the same time, that just leaves me open to a lot of compels, and compels are really what drives the whole thing in Fate. So I think I am going to spend a point on that.
I'd say roll. I'd say you can even just roll first and see, like, if you need it. The number you want to beat is a 3.
Okay. And my contact score is 2. Yeah, no, that's a -1. I seem to be exclusively rolling -1s right now, so that's just a plain 1. So I'm going to invoke that. I'm going to invoke.
Okay. Yeah. So you succeed at the roll. You tie it, so you succeed at a slight cost, a minor cost. The cost being Zach Dempsey. Why don't you give me a thing about Zach Dempsey, and I'll take the other one.
So I like the idea that Zach Dempsey is from money.
Okay.
But he's very estranged with his family. He, was kind of that party kid who just never got back in the fold. And that's why he's kind of taken up this larcenous career. Okay.
I like going with that. I like the idea that he's this party, that he is younger than, but slightly. I think the way I'll describe it is I think he's older than, like, a party guy should be.
Absolutely.
So he's kind of, like, awkwardly, like, trying to be that sort of slumming early 20s, but he's definitely in his, like, mid-30s.
Mm-hmm.
So you show up, and he's got a nice apartment, but it's not super nice, because he's trying real consciously to, like, slum it, and he's in a robe. He's in, like, an open robe and boxer shorts.
Oh, yeah.
Augustine, what's going on, bro?
Zach, what is happening, my man?
What's cracking, bro? You staying frosty?
So frosty, man.
Is that a thing they say? Is that a thing they say? I think that's the thing they say.
We'll say it's a thing.
Oh no, that was in character.
Oh,
that was in character. That was.
Oh yeah, no man.
They say that. Yeah.
You're a man with your ear to the ground. You know what is going on. That's 100% a thing that people say.
I'm the man. I'm the man with the plan. Stan.
And the hand.
In the hand.
They can write me up some good documents.
Yeah, you talking, is this business? So we can go into my office, and he, like, takes you into one of the 2 rooms of this apartment. Or there's, like, 4 rooms in the apartment. He takes you into what is clearly, like, a bedroom, entertainment room, office, and you're sitting on the edge of a futon. So what do you need, bro?
I'm going to assume that you've heard about these this meeting that's going on. Everyone seems to be talking about this meeting.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that meeting.
Right. And I've heard word on the street is that in order to get into that meeting, that a man needs to acquire himself some credentials.
Oh, is that all you need? That's easy. I was gonna say that's easy, but no, it should be fine. It should be fine. It should be good.
Look,
it should be fine.
No, if you're hesitating, you can tell me what's going on.
Okay, so here's what I'm hesitating about. I maybe sorta, and like, you know, this, I hope this doesn't come between us, but I kinda maybe sorta signed a contract with family to like fill out, to give them some like false credentials so that they could come into the city without being noticed. So I can still like work with you, like that's no problem. Like we can, this is, you know, this is personal, that's business. But there's like a slight chance that I might have to just list you as a member of the family. Is that gonna be okay? Please say yes, please say yes, please say yes.
I get a real grave look on my face as I'm thinking this over. Does this mean that when the time comes, I need to walk in, sit with them, that kind of thing?
Probably, but there is a consolation. Because man with the plan.
Alright, Zach, what's that consolation?
So, the rules of the gentleman's agreement state that while you're in a meeting, they can't kill you, they can't betray you, and if you and as long as you act like a gentleman, you're copacetic.
So you're saying it's parlay rules?
Basically, yeah.
I mean, I feel like an asshole being the one who's saying this, but you do know that Florence is going to be there, right?
Oh, I hadn't heard that. I'm so sorry. I hadn't heard that. Bro.
I feel like...
You know I hadn't
I feel like you're the first person. You're the first person who's told me that they did not know that.
I mean, okay.
Look, this
full disclosure. Can I be honest, Ruth? Can I be honest with you?
Be honest, man.
I'd heard about it.
Okay. I mean, you got your ear to the ground, but you know how I feel. You know how I feel about deception.
I know. I heard that's one of the things that, you know what, that's not my business, so I'm going to drop that.
Okay, but I mean, you're making it your business. You see that when you tell me that if I want to get into this place, I've got to go with the family. I got to go with Florence. And I don't know how to tell you this, man, but I'm scared of that. I'm scared of what's going to happen when I see her. I do not know what's going to become of me. It could go very poorly in a lot of different ways. I don't know. Am I a time bomb waiting to go off? Or am I a scared child? I don't know. So you're putting me in a pretty vulnerable position here. Do you understand me, Zach?
I understand that, bro. I get it. But here's my deal. Here's my deal for you. For you, because this is friendship, this isn't business. Your next time that you need documents, 50% discount.
That's tempting.
60%. I'm not going any higher. I won't go to 70.
You know what? Call it 50%. And 2 egg salad sandwiches you owe Huck.
Man, that dude creeps me out, though.
He's sad, and he's got literally nothing going on for him. You know he hasn't talked to his son in 6 years? God
did not know that.
His daughter.
I did not. Oh.
She's going to law school.
Well, that's pretty bad. I recognize that that's bad. Okay, I can give him 2 sandwiches. That's not...
Have a heart, man.
I'll have my dad's butler drop off some sandwiches.
Thank you. 50%. 2 sandwiches. And, I'll accept the responsibility for whatever happens at this meeting.
Alright, that's fair. Okay, So, you've got these credentials. We cut to... You know what I want to do right now? I think this is... you need a consequence to do a montage, right? Is that how it works?
Montages are...
Let's see.
I think it establishes a special aspect.
Okay. Yep, I know. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I think I know exactly what I'd like to do.
Has at least one consequence is on the character sheet.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Okay, so we'll save that. Because I want to see, if possible, I want to fit a montage in here, but I don't know.
100% I would like for that to happen.
Okay. So, well, in fact, actually, I was just reading Fate Core, and so I think what I'm going to do is, I was just reading a thing about, like, taking, one of the things about, like, success at a cost, is you can just give somebody a minor consequence. So I think I'll just do that, and then we'll just do a montage from there. Because I think that, like, scared about what's going to happen is a good minor consequence, because that'll go away.
Yes, I was absolutely going to say, given the way that scene played out, I've definitely established that there's this tension here that's eating at him. So I think that's great.
Yeah, so we'll do that, and then I think from there, I think that this is a perfect place for a montage. Specifically, this is a perfect place for a training montage, as Zach, like, walks you through the, he walks you through, like, the family practices, I guess is the best way to describe it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, yeah. So I think that's what you're training for, is to fit in with like these sort of family officials.
Excellent.
So I think what he does, I think the way that we cut to montage is he's like, all right, great, you're going to be part of the family. But you know what that means? Shopping trip.
I thought you were going to say that.
And, like, 80s pop music starts playing. So I'm going to ask you for a roll.
Okay.
Of a skill roll with your chosen skill. So what skill do we want this to be to fit under? To give you, like a bonus specialization.
Right. So this one's a little tough, because...
Or even, like, well, if there's something else that you want to train for.
No, I'm definitely good to train for this. I'm just trying to figure out what skill kind of works best here.
Okay, so first off, we create a montage aspect.
Right.
That is fitting in with the family.
Yes.
Then we choose associated skills called montage skills. So for this, let me pull up the skill list. I'm thinking this is just generally going to be any, like, social skill.
Right. So
I'm thinking contacts, persuade, provoke, will.
Okay. So I'm definitely thinking I could probably use a boost in any of those skills. I'm the worst at will and contacts.
Well, I think this actually isn't boosting the skill. I think what this is boosting... Let me double check the rulebook.
Oh, right, because it definitely...
Let's see. This is boosting... I think this is giving you a free invocation of the montage aspect.
Yes. And then there's some special rules for when you activate them. It allows you to do some fun stuff with the dice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So make me a skill roll with any of those, like, skills, contacts, persuade, provoke, or will.
Okay.
And based on the result of that, the difficulty is again a 3.
Mm-hmm.
So from there, we'll describe how the montage goes.
All right. I think I'm going to go off of persuade, and I'm going to frame this by... We're doing the shopping trip, and there's a bunch of scenes of Augustine kind of popping out of these different dressing rooms in different clothes, like At one point, he's got the suit on that has the biggest flare on the lapels. They're just insane.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's doing one of those weird, like, suit jacket and a turtleneck combinations. There's just all of these different, like, classic 80s looks.
Yeah.
And finally he comes out in a, just like a white suit, hair slicked back, points out the finger guns at Zach, and he gives a big thumbs up. And ooh, that is not looking great. Oh no. So that's a -4 on a skill roll that is 3, so that's a -1.
Okay. So you do not get the extra bonus invocation, but you do get one free invocation of fitting in with the family.
Okay.
So you can invoke it. You can invoke this montage once as we do the full shopping trip montage. You stepping out from the things. He gives you the thumbs up. You look perfect. We cut to a series of shots, of quick shots of... It looks almost like a red carpet gala.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's in, like, the Morrissey Plaza is this really nice high-rise that is just in, like, the rundown part of town, like downtown.
Right. A glass spire rising out of the slums.
Yeah, and it's not far from Huck's place, so it's, like, fitting in with that really dark, like, day-glow hellscape that is downtown Shorevale.
I'm loving it.
So there's this weird, almost red carpet gala feel as all of these really ostentatiously dressed individuals with all sorts of different flair. Among them, a Soviet national surrounded by his entourage, a member of the Oni, who are the pirates of the Pacific Rim.
Mm-hmm.
This really beautiful dressed woman carrying like a saber at her side is like there are just people attending to her as she walks in, and it's just things like that, like all sorts of very, very elaborate. A lot of peacocking is happening here, as the various crime syndicates are like showing off, like, yeah, we're doing great. How are you doing? Great. Then we get to the family, and the family pull up in a limo. They're all wearing the exact same white suit that you're wearing.
Okay, I like the idea, given this whole, like, peacock aesthetic, that everyone, they're wearing these white suits, but they've also got black ties with these, like, spiderweb patterns inlaid on them.
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. So, yeah, they've got these beautiful spider ties and the white suits. And the last person to step out, and she's wearing the exact same, like, suit, spider tie. The last person... Well, I should add... No, yeah, you're definitely meeting them there, because I'm about to compel an aspect.
Okay.
The last person to step out is Florence. And the camera lingers on her for a long time, and it's odd, like, you know, like it's almost slow motion as she, like, adjusts her tie. People are around her. How do you slide in to this crowd looking like you belong, but slipping in from the outside? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so essentially I think what's going to happen is as this limo is pulling up, we can see that I am kind of off on the sides, and I've got like a large metal tray with a number of different champagne flutes on it, etc. Mm-hmm. I'm dressed just enough like I might be one of these service like waiters here. The suit is obviously like more refined, and there's the distinctive spider tie, but like at a glance, could be.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So as they're parking and pulling up, I essentially smoothly slide down this tray of champagne and hors d'oeuvres and kind of sidle into the crowd.
So that's exactly what happens. You get inside, and there's this beautiful display of like different tables. It's almost like a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
The tables, all the different parties have their own table. You sit down, like you were walked in. You sit down. There's an empty chair. There's an empty chair because they never know exactly how many people are coming.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an empty chair. You sit down, and I am going to compel an aspect of yours.
Okay.
I'm going to compel your Man of Two Hearts trouble aspect.
Absolutely.
And say that you sit down. Florence sits across from you. And at this point, I want to ask, describe to me what you think Florence looks like.
So I think that Florence is tall. She's probably 5'10", 5'11". She's definitely got like dark, intense eyes. She wears her hair relatively naturally, like I like to imagine. It's not like full on afro levels of like blown out.
Sure.
But it's cut kind of close, but it still kind of creates this halo effect.
Okay.
She's got these intense eyes, and she's done her makeup relatively conservatively.
Okay, that's perfect. Yeah. I love it. So she sits down, and she's looking just perfect. She looks perfectly professional until she sits down directly across from you without realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And the two of you lock eyes from across the table. Now, I want to compel this Man of Two Hearts aspect and ask you, if you accept it,
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you how you make such an ass of yourself that you have to, excuse yourself and you find yourself, separated from the group.
Okay, so I'm going to say that she sits down just as the waitstaff comes by and drops a bunch of glasses of very red wine at the table. We lock eyes. I seize up, awkwardly raise my hands, put them back down. It's been a while. I fancy seeing you here. It's is it warm in here? Is it hot? Sorry, I'm getting a little bit. I'm a little bit thirsty. And I grab the wine, and my hands are just shaking as I pick it up, and it doesn't even touch my lips. I just accidentally pour almost this entire glass of wine right down my shirt.
Oh, and it's on the white suit. Oh,
Yep.
It's awful. Oh, this is upsetting. This is upsetting to me.
It was expensive. That was not a cheap suit.
No. Oh, Zach is going to be heartbroken.
He is.
He worked hard on that.
He did. So I immediately grab the...
And at this moment, I should specify, she's trying to, help you, but she is as flustered as you are, and she's like, Augustine, what are you doing here? Never mind. Gentleman's agreement. It's funny to see you here. Oh God, why did you? Oh no, you're covered in wine. It looks like you're with it. You can't. She's like, you're both just. It's a mess.
Yeah, I am patting myself down with my napkin, and
she is alternately patting you down, trying to help pad you down, but also not doing it because she's like, I shouldn't be touching.
Right? Yeah, scared to touch. There's kind of this on again, off again. And I'm like, I need the bathroom wine shirt. Please. 5 minutes. The auction starts. 5 minutes. Yeah,
please.
Five. Be back 5 minutes. 5. I can do 5.
5.
And then I almost lean in to kiss her cheek, and then I pull back, and then I look at her eyes, and then my eyes go up and down the suit, and I look her in the eyes again, and I almost shove the napkin down into the pocket of my suit and just walk towards the bathroom.
You lock her in the eyes, and she is just flushed with blushing. She almost expected the kiss, and she's just you gotta go to the bathroom. I need to get myself together. This is important.
Yeah, yes, big deal. Big day.
So, what happens is, in the bathroom, you are cornered by someone with intent to attack you. It is a member of the family. They're wearing the night suit, and they're cornering you to rough you up because they figured out that you shouldn't be here, based partially on Florence's just utter mess of a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So they corner you. This is the cartoon big bald guy that hangs out with the gang.
Okay.
So how do you react when he's, like, walking up to you and he's like, you shouldn't be here, Chew. You're out of the group. I don't want to do this. We had a good run, but, I mean, this is work.
So I put my hands up. Look, gentleman's agreement. I got my way in here. Parlay rules, you know, we've all got a horse in this race. I'm not trying to screw you, okay? I've got my own stuff going on. Just let me have this. And I want to imagine that he's not having this. So he kind of reels up to take a swing.
Mm-hmm.
And I do one of those classic action movie things where I still have the wine-soaked napkin in my suit pocket.
Okay, yep.
And I kind of pull it out and use it as like a hand trap, and I pull him down against the sink.
I like it. So go ahead and make me that roll.
Yeah.
Which I believe would be a...
Fight roll?
Fight roll, yeah.
So that's a net 0. That was a -3.
Well, in that case, why don't you probably want... This is probably an instance where you want to compel an aspect, or invoke an aspect to take this guy down.
I'm actually actively enamored with the idea of this...
Getting roughed up here?
I want to see where this complication takes me.
Okay. So you try to do that, and it goes off exactly, and he stands up, and, like, there's just crumbling porcelain.
Oh.
He's going to, so I'm going to ask you for an evasion roll, a difficulty of 5 to avoid taking stress or consequences.
Okay, I think that they wrapped evasion into another skill here.
Yeah, I think
athletics?
it's athletic. Yeah, it's athletics. So make me an athletics.
Okay,
with a difficulty of 5.
Ivan, I forgot. I forgot your head is like a girder, and
That's why they call me the girder.
Drop to the floor and try to roll out of the way. There's... The only way I can make this is if I get a +4 off the bat, so I'm probably going to wind up invoking an aspect here.
Okay.
Yep, that's a -1, so not going to happen even if I invoke. I'm cool with that, though. I'm definitely cool with...
Okay, so you can take 5 stress, which means you'll have to take at least I think at this point, probably a minor consequence, because I think that minor consequence of you being flustered went away when you got super flustered. Okay.
Yeah,
So you're going to have to take at least a minor consequence?
Definitely. Yeah.
I was going to say, or if you bow out and you say that this takes you out for the scene, what will happen is that you're out, and they've just, like, dumped you in a broom closet, but you'll still be able to hear everything that happens within the auction itself.
Okay, so I don't think I'm quite ready to bow out of this one yet.
Okay. So you take 5 stress?
5 stress, and the way that it works with consequences is consequences are kind of...
They're like stress boxes, so by taking a minor consequence, or by taking a mild consequence... Sorry, I keep saying minor, but it's mild. Or it might be minor, I don't know. I have it written down as mild, so I'm going to go with that. If you take the first consequence box, it counts as you taking 2 stress.
Okay. So, that would still fill my physical stress track all the way up, so I'm going to take the next one up,
It should only fill 1 stress box. So the way that stress works in Fate is a little bit tricky. It's every stress box you have counts as you taking that much damage.
Oh, right.
You don't have to mark them in order, so you can just mark off that 3 stress box.
Yes,
or one of your 3 stress boxes, and that'll count as you taking 3 hits.
Yep, I've been spending so much time looking at White Wolf style health tracks that I'm so used to watching things like Cascade and Fill Up. So yeah, I will take that 2 then and mark my 3.
Okay. So your minor consequence is just a black eye as he just wallops you.
Love it.
So what's your next move? And remember, you do have fitting in with the family as your montage aspect if you want to continue to try to talk your way out of it.
Yes, I was actually hoping to do something here where I want to leverage insight, like kind of get a read on him, and then try to push one of his buttons in order to de-escalate the situation.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. This one's going to be fairly easy because he's not equipped for that kind of, like... He's showing his hand. Because that's part of his deal, right? Like, he's he's the guy to very openly be like, yeah, you're in trouble. That's why I'm here.
Mhm.
So this is you're only going to need a 1 to, like, get that button to push.
Okay.
To lay out that aspect of having that button to push.
Awesome. So I got a +0 on that, but I have a 5 in insight, so that's a 5.
So that is, you get a full aspect, and you get 2 invocations for free on that, as well as just the aspect hanging around. So let me ask you, what's the button that you want to push on Ivan the Girder?
So I like Ivan the Girder has been getting in trouble recently because he's getting a little big for his britches and overstepping his bounds.
As evidenced by him beating you up here, yeah.
Exactly. So he is one bad move away from taking like a severe, like from some severe retribution from the family for stepping out of line.
Okay.
So I want to invoke that.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So it's stepping out of line. Or I'm gonna make the aspect on the outs with the family.
I like it. So I start rubbing my jaw. Look. Ivan. I put my hands like a little bit on my chest and then I point out. I'm not doing so great. Look at me.
Yeah, I've heard. I've heard things.
Sitting at a table out there with Florence, and I've got wine all over my shirt. This auction is starting in, 2 minutes now? I don't have time for this, and I know that you don't have time for this. You might not have spilled wine down your shirt, but you've spilled wine down your shirt, socially speaking. You know what's going to happen if they find out what happened in this bathroom here? You know what the family is going to do to you? Look, you don't want to end up like Huck Spindley, do you?
That guy, he doesn't know how to doesn't even know how to eat a sandwich right.
We all know that he's very unsettling. It's difficult to imagine that he's been as successful as he has been in this life. It's not very successful, but it's more than you would expect.
It's surprising.
But you are just so close to crossing the line into Spindley County.
I don't want to. I really don't. All right, I'm gonna call it. So okay, make me that persuade roll, but you can you get 2 free invocations of that on the outs with the family.
All right.
As well as anything else as well as 1 invocation of fitting in with the family that you can use at any point in the adventure.
All right. So given that I've got a pretty solid persuade, I'm going to take that free invocation. Mm-hmm. I got a +1 on the roll base, so that's 3 plus my persuade of 3, so that's 6.
Yeah, you succeed. Yeah, you take. He bows out, which is to say, he's like, you don't think I'm going to end up like Spindly, do you? Oh God,
Just look, temperance.
Temperance.
Have you heard of the? I mean, breathing exercises, meditation, anything. Count down from 10 when you think that you're gonna hit someone. Just consider the consequences. Okay, you're right.
Okay, listen, we gotta get back now. You look fine. Nobody's gonna notice. Let's get back to the table.
Okay.
Here, I'll take your seat. You take mine. You won't be able to see her. It's okay.
Yes, please.
So you go back, and there's already a young woman on. At a podium. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Clara Spindley. I am the legal associate for the Spider. It is my pleasure to welcome you all here to this auction, but you really don't want to hear me speak, so allow me to introduce my superior, the Spider. And she, steps down, and the Spider comes up, and the Spider is wearing a beautiful black suit. The Spider, they are a very bulky figure, they're very square.
Mm-hmm.
They're like a rectangular figure. You can't really. They look just very rectangular. There's no real detail you can see in their body beyond just square. And they're wearing a spider themed lucha mask.
Ooh, okay.
And they stand up.
Hello, my friends, glorious members of the Gentleman's Agreement. It is a magical time for crime. And I'm not just referring to Arcanum the Crime Wizard.
And it cuts to a guy in a magician's costume just laughing. He's just yucking it up. And that sort of awkward corporate patter goes on for a few minutes. Now let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
You notice something as the spider is giving this, like, corporate patter.
Okay.
You notice a tick or a turn of phrase or something, like something about them that is immediately familiar to you and probably you alone. What is that tick or turn of phrase or something that is initially recognizable and you can't figure out where, and then you find yourself getting annoyed, but sort of also kind of like smiling a little bit at it? What is that tick?
So I think that they are in a position where, or not in a position, but the tick is that they keep kind of pulling down around their suit, like almost as though it's trying to ride up, and they want to make sure that it just keep it down and stop it from riding up. Like maybe they aren't quite too big to fit in it, but it's getting at that point where you probably got to start thinking about sizing up, and they're just not willing to do it. So they just have this awkward push where they keep like fidgeting and pulling at the corners of their suit.
Yeah, okay. That's exactly what you see them pull. You see them do it like twice. And they're fairly spread apart. And like the first time you see it happen, the thought crosses your mind of like, shouldn't the spider be able to afford a suit that like fits them perfectly? And slow, like you're watching them, and then it like something about the way they're pulling it, you're like, I don't think that suit was made for them. Or maybe it wasn't made for their body. And then like you see the spider, they're talking, and they kind of glance ever so slightly and imperceptibly in your direction, and that's when they like adjust the second time. And they like real consciously pull down their shirt. And it's at that moment that you glance over to where you were you glance around the table and you notice Ivan's there. A few of the other family members are there, but someone's not there. Florence is not at the table.
Mm-hmm.
So he continues.
Enough patter, enough jokes. It's time to get to business. The auction item of the evening.
And they pull it up, and there's this metal tank. And inside the metal tank, well, you've seen some crazy things, Augustin Chu. You've seen some wild things pop up. You've never seen an alien before.
No, I have not.
There's this, like, squat little alien in a glass, in this, like, glass, like, thing. And it's on top of a little dolly, a big, like, a dolly, and it's essentially in a jar. And it's squat and fat, and it looks like, and its like face is scrunchy, and it's got a giant bucket of M&Ms that it's just shoveling into its mouth. But it doesn't look happy. Like, that's the important thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Alien life. Used properly, it can change a crime outfit into a global power. Bidding begins at $10 million. This will be a traditional gentleman's agreement silent auction. We will reconvene in half an hour. Good day.
And the crowd is like yelling and cheering, and the alien's freaked out, and they wheel it off, and the spider walks off. And everybody starts like filling out forms and just kind of chatting, office chatter at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to give one last compel for you.
Okay.
Just as a way of saying, like, as an objective.
Mm-hmm.
More so than a bad thing happens.
Mm-hmm.
That you happen to glance, like, almost lock eyes with the alien, and you're like, I can't let this happen.
Okay.
So you have to find a way back to that alien to help it.
Okay. I will absolutely take that. As this is going on, as the bidding begins, I look over the table where the family is, and I look at all of these different, very colorful figures who are at this meeting, and I think back to when I came in, the way that I came in, and I look at this awkward kind of busboy who is walking away from one of these tables back towards the service exit, and I start tailing him. He's essentially same approximate build.
Sure.
And as he turns the corner towards this exit, I take a hard turn and press him up against a wall. This is going to sound very strange, but give me your clothes.
Alright, make me a provoke roll. This is going to be a difficulty of 1. We'll say 3 because you're not necessarily doing it. He's going to give you his clothes one way or the other. It's if it takes him long enough for somebody to notice what's happening.
Okay.
So a difficulty of 3.
That's a +1 on a provoke of 2, so that is 3.
Perfect. So you get the clothes. You're now dressed as the busboy.
So I'm going to use this back-end service access that I have to try to get myself on the kind of other side of the auction situation. So if there's any way that I can kind of get back up towards where the alien is now that I have this extra disguise.
With ease, you're able to like walk around pretty easily.
Right. So
so you get to the back. There's this like holding container they have him in. There's a few people tending to him, moving around monitoring things, a few scientists. And you feel a hand on your shoulder. You feel the like hand around your mouth, arm around your neck, and you're pulled into like a stairwell. And you're face to face with the spider.
What are you doing here, Augustin?
Oh, you know who I am. I had this whole charade planned. A lot of funny voice work. Sorry. But
what are you doing here, Augustin?
The alien. You can't seriously. It's seriously messed up.
The spider pulls off. The spider goes to the the ropes in the back.
You can't be back here, Augustin.
And they pull off the wig, and the hair, that just about perfect afro hair, pops up, but it's a little bit matted now.
Yeah.
She pulls off the thing. She pulls out the little voice modulator. You can't be back here. I let you sit at the table. You're going to cause a scene, Gustin.
Florence, look, this... You want to know why I had to walk away from this? Look at yourself. That's basically a kid that you've got over there. You're feeding it M&Ms. That's not healthy, first of all. That's not good. But you're also you're selling it into a life of slavery, is what you're doing here. We got way in over our heads, okay? Yeah, I know that we're not...
You think I don't know that? You think I don't know that we're in over our head? This is... Do you realize how much money there's going to be at play here? Do you not... Have you not, for a second, thought about why I might be in on this plan?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of money at stake.
This is get out of the game money, Augustin. You never think. And this is when I'm going to ask you to make a roll as I'm going to ask you to make a roll to resist getting emotional as she starts laying into you about couples therapy stuff.
Actually, can I just crumble into that?
Yeah, if you want to take a compel and just crumble into that, that's a perfect compel.
No.
So she's laying into you.
Look, what you don't understand is that the problem is that I am thinking and that you're not thinking, Florence. Do you remember why we started doing this? Do you remember? Back when we were, 18, 19? We had ideals, we had beliefs, and I looked in the mirror one day and I realized that those were gone, Florence, that kid had died, and I'm trying to drag him back. You go through with this. The Florence that I fell in love with is gone, okay?
Your words, she's taken aback. And she's like, if, and that's a big if. Maybe you're right. Maybe. I'm just saying, if you happen to be right, what could I do now? There's no way to, just suddenly say, oh, the alien left. There would have to be some sort of... Somebody's got to take a fall and be the one that let the alien out.
Look, everyone here knows what's going on. What happened between us, the falling out, the break. God damn it, I love you, Florence, but I can take the fall. I can take the fall. I can pull a fire alarm or something, rush off with this alien, and I don't know, make a break for the docks, something, anything.
As you're saying that, out of nowhere, she just grabs you and kisses you real deep.
Mm-hmm.
Music swells, it's the big moment.
Yeah.
She's like, somebody's gotta take a fall, but I never said it had to be one person. And she, like, puts the thing back in her mouth, and she puts the mask back on.
You handle the alien. I'll handle the rest. And we'll meet at our usual spot. 1 hour. If you're not there in 90 minutes, then I'm gone.
1 hour.
The spider walks back out. They look at you. The spider looks at you, pulls out like a machine pistol, and just like takes out 3 people as they walk.
There's been a change of plans, gentlemen. The winner of the auction is, as always, the spider. Never question the plans of a spider. Never rely on the terms of an outdated agreement.
And she's just opening fire. And she, like, quickly looks back at you as the crowd, as, like, people are, like, opening fire on her, and she's, like, crouched behind a table. So this is the big finale scene, is you have to get to that alien, break that thing, and then just get out.
Okay. When you say that thing, do you mean the
The alien, yeah, the alien.
Okay.
Not a nice way to refer to the alien at all. It's a living being.
This small, precious boy. I don't know what its gender is, but the small, precious being. So, yeah, I'm going to... brace myself, kind of take a low, like, squatting run, maneuvering behind as much cover as I possibly can, but also taking as straight a path as possible without putting myself in the direct line of fire, trying to run back to this alien.
Alright, so make me an athletics roll. And the big thing to point out is that I think you have 4 fate points at the moment.
Yes, I do.
You have 4 fate points, and I think you still, if you can justify the invocation, you have a free invocation of both fitting in the family, and Ivan's on the outs with the family. Meanwhile, I have 2 fate points, as well as 1 invocation of your black eye.
Yes, so I think that what I'm going to do, actually, is Ivan is relatively close to the service door.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pat him on the back as this firefight is breaking out. Girder, you cover me. Make sure that I get out of this fine. Don't ask any questions. And Florence will make sure that you live the rest of your days with the family in a very, very comfortable position. Say goodbye to Huck Street. You're going straight to the top.
You had me at don't ask any questions. Okay, so you invoke that. So what happens is, well, why don't you describe to me what happens? He's whatever you need him to do for the next part of your plan, he's gonna do.
Okay, so these tables are like these kind of like big round style, like wedding reception tables, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that a lot of these have been knocked over in the ensuing commotion.
Yeah.
And Ivan essentially picks one up and starts maneuvering it so that I can hide behind it kind of as a mobile shield.
Okay.
As I'm rushing back towards the stage.
Okay. So you're shielded. So you get to the stage without a problem. Now you're faced with this like containment tank. Finally figured out the word I was looking for. It was containment tank.
Containment tank, yes.
The alien is staring at you, and it's like got a fistful of M&Ms, and its neck, it like cricks at its neck, and it's got this real long neck, and you can see the like vertebrae sticking out of it at this point as it like leans forward, and it like cocks its head at you. What do you do now?
So I look at it in the eyes. I'm kind of squatted down so I'm at its level, and I point to myself, and I point toward the spider, and I do that a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And then I point at the alien, and I kind of raise my hands in a questioning shrug. What I want to do is actually use my open book stunt.
Okay.
Wherein, by revealing one of my own aspects, in this case, Man with Two Hearts, I am then able to learn one of the alien's aspects.
Okay. Yeah, so what happens is it sees you do this, and it, like, cricks its neck out, and it, like, backs up a little bit, and it cricks its neck out a little further, and it's now got, like, a real long, you notice it's got a weirdly long neck,
Mhm.
and you see these vertebrae, and it puts its head down in such a way that it can kind of stretch out the back of, and you notice that it's got this real long head.
Mhm.
And it, like, opens its mouth, and it's got these real long, sharp teeth, and it opens its mouth wide, and a little second head pops out. And it's like, ah!
Oh boy.
And it, like, opens its mouth, and it says, Earthman, I can read your thoughts. I am an advanced scout of the Zarthar Invasion Force. You do not need sign language with me. Please, show me a little bit of dignity.
Okay. I apologize. This is my first time at this particular rodeo. I'm flustered.
Fair. Listen, she loves you. You need to listen more.
You know what? You've called me out on that one. I think that in this interaction here, you've really clearly established that I'm not doing a good job of listening or taking any sort of hints. But in Invasion Force, that's worrisome.
Here's what I can do for you, Earthman. Help me out of here. Get me to the roof, that I may return home. And I will tell my superiors that Earth is a barren, unlivable waste, unfit for our army.
Okay, so I guess then there's one important question.
Yes.
Do you want me to transport you up there in the tank or out of the tank?
Out of the tank. This is miserable.
Okay, also, and I start, like, are there latches on this thing, or is it, like, padlocked, or...
There's a computer terminal and by where near the lawyer woman that like gave the introduction. She's like freaking out and trying to avoid gunfire. There's a computer terminal that would like manually open it. You can see there's a seam along the top that would like open up.
Okay, so I look at the computer and I start rushing towards that. But as I'm running, I'm like, do you even like M&Ms?
Oh no, these are delicious. I'm taking these. Normally I eat flesh, like the flesh of the living, but like, I don't know how you Earth folk made these, but they're wonderful.
It's a mystery, and I start hacking away at the computer terminal.
Okay.
And as I'm doing it, I actually look over at Clara Spindley, realizing very quickly that I don't have the technical savvy to probably handle this on my own. I'm going to rely on Augustine's primary skill set, which is convincing other people to do the things that he's not good at doing.
Sure. Okay, so make me a persuade roll and then say what you need to say from there.
All right, cool. So that's a +1 on top of my persuade of 3, so that's 4.
Perfect. She's whatever you say, that's exactly the thing to say.
Clara Spindley. Clara Spindley, you're Huck's kid, right?
You know my dad? Oh my god, this is a bad time, but let me say that I'm so sorry.
He misses you. He needs someone in his life, okay? I know that he's not been the best guy, okay? He's a mess. He's in pain. But unless you do something for him, that pain's never going to go away. If you help me, I can help make sure that you get out of here. Help repair that relationship with your dad. Just help me get this alien out.
You've already convinced me. Let me do this. And she, like, runs to the thing, and she enters the keys, and, like, the thing opens, and the crowd is now actively panicking as there's an alien, and it stands up to reveal itself, and it looks pudgy, but that's because you can tell that it was like crunched up.
Mm-hmm.
It stands up, and now beyond like a flabby gut that it's gotten from eating just thousands of M&Ms.
Mm-hmm.
It's got like the exposed rib cage and the spines along the back and a tail and its crinkly neck and the rows of teeth. So yeah, now it's the crowd. Now they're freaking out. Now the last challenge that you're going to need to make is you need to take Clara and the alien and get them out of there while there's gunfire blaring and etc. and so forth.
Okay, so I grab Clara by the wrist, and I start motioning back towards behind where Ivan is set up behind this table.
Okay.
And I want to rush us back, like I'm barreling over any obstacles I can towards this service exit so that we can break for a staircase that'll lead up to the roof.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to ask for an athletics roll.
Excellent.
I am going to proverbially smoke him if I got him.
Mm-hmm.
And say that normally it would be a 3,
mm-hmm.
but it's actually going to be, I'm going to say it's going to be a full 7 to get out of there with no complications. Because, like I said, there's a firefight, so there's guns blazing,
mm-hmm.
so to evade gunfire is going to be very difficult.
Yes.
And the other thing I'm going to invoke is on the outs with the family.
Mm-hmm.
And say that the big thing is Ivan has now blocked the doorway, and he's like, I want that alien. I want that alien. So those are the two things you're going to have to navigate.
Okay, so I am going to try to make my way across the room, but I'm going to do it first by trying... Is this containment tank like on wheels, or...
Yeah, it's on a dolly, yes.
So I'm going to take the dolly, and I'm just going to push it into the fray.
Okay.
To create a distraction in that way, and capitalizing on that distraction, I'm going to take Clara and the alien, and I am going to bull rush Ivan, essentially, and hope that the sheer force of the chaos and the fact that the alien is now cutting a pretty intimidating figure, that we can kind of intimidate our way out of that particular...
Okay. That makes sense. I'm going to say that you're going to make a provoke roll.
Okay.
Difficulty 7.
Difficulty 7.
You can use the points that you have to invoke the alien aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Advanced scout of the invasion force.
Okay.
You can use it to invoke on the outs with the family if you want. You can use it to invoke a dolly, just aspect of like dolly.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you want to do.
So yes, definitely base. I'm going to absolutely invoke the invasion force aspect and then the dolly aspect, and then depending on how this roll goes, I might also spend my last fate point on another relevant aspect.
Okay. I think you have 2 more fate points, unless you spent one that I'm missing. Left. I thought you had 4.
Oh, maybe I do. I for some reason in my head assumed that I spent one to convince Clara. I just rolled well.
You just rolled well, yeah. Okay.
So that is a base provoke of 2. So I'm at 6. So I am going to need to invoke one more aspect. And I think that what I want to do is invoke my man with 2 hearts aspect.
I was about to suggest that exact thing.
As we're getting close to the door and Ivan is standing there, I'm going to look back to Florence, and we're going to have this kind of like intense eye contact moment. And then this is actually actively distracting. And Ivan has actually like leapt over the table that he's using to blockade the door and is standing over me, like arms raised, kind of like he's going to take both of his fists and just drive him into the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a gunshot into his thigh, and he drops down because Florence saw him coming, which then opens the way for us to dive back.
Exactly what happens, yeah. So you push through. He goes down, and he's like, my leg! You couldn't even kill me!
I pat him on the back and say, easy streets from here on out, buddy. Easy street.
So you push through, you make it up the stairs, you're on the roof with Clara and the alien. It looks at you, it locks eyes with you, it puts up its finger, it lights up. And it's like that creepy long alien finger, so it's super weird.
Mm-hmm.
It lights up and it just says, "Report to home base. Earth is uncolonizable. It's a barren rock. Set forces for Mars." And it winks, which again, weird, because it's an alien.
Oh, so creepy.
It's a xenomorph. And it, like, opens its mouth again and the second one comes out. "Best of luck to you, Earthman. You've shown me kindness at a time of need."
So, I'm going to reach into my suit pocket. I'm going to pull out the wine-stained tablecloth, and I'm going to say, "Thank you for showing me what I was too blind to realize about myself. I'll never forget the kindness you've done me." And I extend the table, or the handkerchief to him and say, "And I hope that you'll do the same for me."
And so it disappears in a flash of light. Okay, I know exactly how this ends. It disappears in a flash of light, and you're left standing, and Clara's standing next to you, and she's like, "So that was an alien. So that was weird." And at that moment, Florence bursts through the room in the spider suit without her mask on. And she's shooting, and she's like, "We gotta go!" And like a crowd bursts through the door. The three of you run, you jump off a ledge, there's a freeze frame.
I love it.
And you all are okay for the sequel.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
that's game. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun.
So, let me ask you, since this is a playtest, is there anything that really worked for you? Anything that didn't work? Either setting-wise or mechanics-wise?
I think that some of the things that were a little bit weird are more specific to this particular format, where because we were on a relatively tight time frame, like we had to kind of contrive the consequence that led to the montage.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, flowed from the narrative, so I also don't have like an actual issue with that either, because it made sense in context. Mm-hmm. We didn't wind up keying off of the montage aspect that we created, but that was also because I was probably over eager to dig my own grave.
That's a good thing in Fate, though. I think it works. I think it was more that we wanted to do the montage than we wanted to necessarily use it in play.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
So I don't think there's anything in the game that didn't work for me. I think the setting stuff really worked for me.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think that, just given the way that we were approaching it, those things aren't problems, because in the flow of other play contexts, it would have been used. And despite the fact that I have an AP that involves a relatively mechanically robust game, I'm super, super keen on just hand-waving stuff and rolling with the narrative.
Yeah. I think the 20-some episodes of the show have shown that I feel the same way.
So, yeah, I actually really did like the establishing the characters, where
I liked that a lot. I wasn't sure I would, and I really liked that. And that's something that I don't remember being in Fate Core, so I think that's a really good addition.
Right, I think that there's some early campaign level setup stuff that facilitates that, but not quite on the same level. And I really liked the way that it allowed us both to quickly establish a character that got here's this really solid image, and then you were able to then throw something else on top of there that added a little bit of texture or something. I thought that was really, really good, and it gave a lot of stuff to push forward the story and to give the characters. It was great.
I agree. I strongly agree. I don't think I have anything else. So, Quinn, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was just a blast.
That was great. That was awesome. So real quick, why don't you run down some social media plugs, etc., and so forth?
Oh, yes. So, you can find my podcast at swallowsofthesouth.com. We are on Twitter at swallowsofsouth. You can find my personal Twitter account at monkeypiequinn. That is MonkeyPiQuinn, because I like to be deliberately inaccessible. So you can find me there. The show is also on Google Plus at Swallows of the South, on Tumblr at swallowsofthesouth.tumblr.com. I've also got a micro game that I wrote about Guy Fieri that is floating around the internet.
I literally forgot about that until just now, but yes. Yes, you do.
So, I can shoot you a link, and then maybe you can put that in the show notes. It's just an open Google Doc.
Should.
If you happen to live in San Diego, I perform at the National Comedy Theater, generally speaking, on the last 2 Sundays of the month at 9 o'clock. So if you're ever in town on a Sunday, free at 9 o'clock, tickets are $10, so...
Not a bad deal.
But yeah, I think that's my list of various social media outlets and various other plugs.
Excellent. Well, in that case, Quinn, thank you so much for coming on the Party of One, and I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up the show.
Awesome.
Take it, future me. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Quinn for coming onto the show. That was a delight. Be sure to check out Swallows of the South. You will not regret it. Also, be sure to follow Quinn on Twitter at monkeypiequinn, and be sure to follow Swallows of the South on Twitter at swallowsofsouth. Then, while you're on Twitter, follow the Party of One at Party of One Pod. Then like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/partyofonepodcast. And if you loved the show, consider telling a friend. Social media shoutouts, new listeners, and iTunes review help the show achieve bigger and better things, and they honestly mean a lot to me. Thank you so much to everyone who has done so far. You're just wonderful. You're all wonderful. I love you all. Party of One is produced by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. This episode edited by Jeff Stormer. Most music for the show, with the exception of one brilliantly executed JoJo's Bizarre Adventure meme, comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers. Until next time, party people, thanks for listening, and remember, don't turn your back on the city.